Hi to everyone. My name is Ahmed Amri bin Maiso, and my group members is Muhammad Imran Haziq bin Khairul Fizan and Wan Ahmad Ifanuddin bin Wan Ismail. Today, our group will discuss about Midway film. So, the storyline is on December 7, 1941, the Japanese used their carrier fleet to strike at Pearl Harbor. The attack leads the US to enter World War II. The most interesting strand of the movie involves Patrick Wilson as intelligence officer, which is Edwin Layton, whose warnings about a Japanese attack were repeatedly ignored by top brass. Woody Harrelson is newly appointed commander of Pacific Fleet, which is Admiral Nimitz, a man who overcomes his instinctive mistrust of the geeks of the code-breaking unit to take heed of their intelligence about a new Japanese assault. The Americans go into the Battle of Midway as underdogs, outmanned and outgunned. But with the element of surprise of their side this time, the Japanese are unaware that their naval message being intercepted. The clash of firepower when it comes is a colossal thundering snore of a battle, but the heroes of dive bomber like Dick is something to behold as they fly their planes nose down to get as close as possible to enemy target. Today, the whole thing would be executed by unmanned drones operated thousands of miles from the war zone. So, the problem statement here, the Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japanese army suddenly. So, our group will using the SWOT analysis, which is strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat. So, for the strength, courage in booming Japanese destroyer. Pilot Dick Best was very brave because he fly very close to the Japan's destroyer. The way that he do that was very dangerous. But to ensure the bomb is perfectly land towards the Japanese destroyer, he need to fly closer. Next, dare to take risks. Edwin Layton told to the commander of the Pacific Fleet, which is Admiral Nimitz, about the code that he already break to intercept Japanese radio message so that they know Japanese strategy.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Imran Hazir bin Rizal. So I will continue for the second point, which is weakness. For the first one is unprepared in enemy attack. In the movie of the scene at the Arizona station, the officer, which is Lieutenant Roy Pierce, and his crewmate were prepared for the ceremony, which is a church ceremony. But after that, the Japanese was attacked and bombing their ship. The officer and his crewmen on the deck was shot by the attack, but they can't do anything because they were unprepared. So uh, the the officer and his crew were dead on the incident. For the second is the instinctive mistrust of the code breaking unit. Okay, for this point, I will let you know that there is the one officer which is the main character, the intelligent officer which is Edwin Layton, who is the one who the first that intercept the message, the radio message of the Japan, and warning to the U.S. military about the Japanese the next attacking plan. But the warning was being ignored by the high rank. So the officer, which is Layton, and his team want to persuade the admiral about the code that they intercept. So after they know the code, and the admiral want to know so they can predict the next attack plan. Okay, for the third, which is opportunity. For the first one is the US intercept the Japanese radio message. Okay, for the first one is Rear Admiral Edwin Layton, which is the intelligence officer, naval intelligence officer, who played the key role in this movie. Uh, so an indispensable one of the ability of the US communication intelligence officer to decrypt the radio Japanese message. So the information that they provide will enable uh, carrier-based dive bomber to the position in the northwest of Midway that deliver the devastating attack and sink all 4 enemy aircraft carrier. The rest of the Japanese force, part of which was intent in invade Midway, itself slunk home in defeat. Okay, the last one is the US backstab Japan destroyer. Okay, for the last one is US backstab the Japanese destroyer after they get the code breaker, after they intercept the code that Japanese message on the American side of the fray. 32 dive bomber stationed on the Enterprise and led by Lieutenant Commander Wade Klasky, which is a pilot of US Naval that pursued the Japanese fleet running partially low on fuel. So his teammate, which is Dick Best, commander of the bombing squadron 6, was among the pilot that participated in the mission. Unlike the torpedo bomber, who had to fly low and slow without any guarantee at a scoring hit, even delivering working bomb. Dive bomber, which is Dick Best, is plumbed down from the highest 2,000 feet, flying at the speed around 275 miles per hour before aiming the bomb directly at the target.
Hi everyone, my name is Rahman from Indian Ismail. Now I'll talk about the fourth main point of SWOT, which is threat. The Japanese army dare to die attacking US. This is the biggest threat for United States because the Japanese army really didn't care about their life as long they obey their chief and win the battle, and they put their life in danger. This we can call it as kamikaze. In the Pearl Harbor incident, the attack killed 2,403 United States personnel, including 68 civilians, and destroyed 19 United States Navy ships, including 8 battleships. On the other hand, there were 129 Japanese soldiers reported to have been killed and in Pearl Harbor, and 29 Japanese aircraft were lost. Okay, next we will talk about the leadership of the main character in the film. The first one is Dick Best. Dick Best, who loses his best friend in the Battle of Pearl Harbor, and for whom Midway becomes even more personal. During an attack, he makes a fatal error and doesn't check his oxygen tank. Instead of going back, he refuses to lead his squadron without a leader and puts his own life and ultimately a career that he loved at risk. He gets the job done, but at an extreme cost. They put their own health at risk for the sake of their school community. The second one is Edwin Layton. Edwin Layton is the Pacific Fleet intelligence officer who had predicted the Pearl Harbor, but either wasn't listened to or didn't share it assertively enough. 6 months later, he was able to predict that the Japanese were going to bomb Midway, which allowed the American to get there first. As he grew in his role, he became more assertive and more confident. They know their stuff and they have great ideas, but they either assume that others will listen, or unfortunately have encountered the others who will not listen. The third one is Jimmy Doolittle. Jimmy Doolittle is the pilot who led the raid over Tokyo. In the movie, he is depicted as charmer who can convince a group of Chinese soldiers to take him and his riders to safety. Although not shown in the movie, the fallout from the Doolittle raid left 1/4 million Chinese people dead as a result of Japan's retaliation for their part in assisting the Americans. So the solution of this problem is the Pacific Fleet Intelligence Officer Edwin Layton who intercept the Japanese radio message. After that, part of the United States Army detect a carrier that flanked but returned back to the group of the carrier. After they saw the group of the carrier, Bess and his crewmen were successful bombing the main of the Japanese carrier, and certain of the crew were back to their United States base carrier safely. After the incident of the bombing of the main carrier, Japanese surrendered.